We're gonna flash back to April 2019. Samsung puts a phone in my hands in New York City. I had to sign NDAs that were about that thick. I unfolded it and suddenly I was holding a tablet. And I must have opened and closed that thing 20 times before I finally put it down. The idea of a phone that can become a tablet, like two devices in one, it made sense in a way that tech, I think, rarely does. 48 hours later, kind of the wheels fell off. Review units started dying, screens flickering after a few days, journalists peeling off a protective layer that looked exactly like a screen protector. Samsung had trained us to remove those for years, except this one was structural. It was holding the display together, and Samsung ended up delaying the launch of the original Fold or recalled everything, and sort of that future that I'd held in my hands got put on hold. That was almost 7 years ago. Samsung has shipped 6 more generations foldable since then. Google's jumped in, Motorola's brought back the Razr, OnePlus made what I thought was probably the best foldable anybody's built, and now are basically going to cease to exist. And through it all, Apple has just sat on the sidelines. Because here's what nobody tells you about tech history. Nobody will remember who did it first. They will only remember who did it best. All right, so what is Apple supposedly building with their foldable? I 3D printed a mock-up based on leaked CAD dimensions to find out. And again, all alleged. It's a passport-style foldable, opens up like a book, similar to the Galaxy Fold with the dimensions of the Pixel. Opens horizontally into landscape. Inner display is rumored to be about 7.8 inches with a 4:3 aspect ratio. Basically like an iPad mini. Outer screen, about 5.5 inches, but wider and shorter than any iPhone, almost a square. The big rumor, the big selling point Apple's going to push on stage is a crease-free display. That's been like the Shangri-La that every foldable manufacturer has been chasing, but nobody has solved. And Apple reportedly refused to ship a foldable until they could eliminate it. That is a bold claim. And to understand why it matters, you have to understand sort of what makes folding displays so hard. And if you want a really deep dive on this, Quinn Nelson at Snazzy Labs did an amazing breakdown. Link to his video down below. But the short version, bending something once is easy. Bending something thousands of times in the exact same spot without breaking it or deforming it is borderline impossible. Individually, each fold is nothing, but they accumulate over time. Over thousands of cycles, the stress builds into a visible crease, and there's no easy fix. Making the inner display thinner reduces the crease because there's less sort of material fighting against itself at the fold point. But thinner also means way more fragile. Drop a foldable wrong and you are almost definitely going to crack something. Okay, so before I keep going, I want to tell you who I recently partnered up with, and that is DraftKings Predictions. So probably know DraftKings, but DraftKings Prediction is very, very different. It's a platform sort of for trading on real world outcomes. It's actually event contract trading, which is why I've kind of dug it. It works with a really simple yes or no predictions. They let you trade on, the big game, predict the game total points, who will cover the spread, who takes home the trophy, all that stuff. Well, the total will go over yes or no, who's going to win. Each contract pays out $1 if you're right and 0 if you are wrong. And you can trade live as the game unfolds. It's also beyond football too. You can also join in on pro and college basketball, hockey, and a ton more sports. That's awesome. It's also available in California, where I am, Florida and Texas, and more states. If you want to check it out, and you're big into sports, it does make watching a little more fun. Just do it responsibly, please. Download the DraftKings Prediction app and sign up. I'll put the code right up here. New DraftKings Predictions customers get up to a $75 first trade bonus paid in predictions dollars. So have fun, good luck, the crown is yours. All information, though, will be down below. Manufacturers have been stuck in this impossible trade-off for years. Google's Pixel Fold, the original in 2023, had a pretty interesting aspect ratio, but it ran so hot, you could barely sort of hold on to it after extended use. OnePlus released the Open. I thought it was awesome, and I still think it's probably my favorite foldable ever. Even doing everything right in the foldable market isn't enough to survive. I think Samsung deserves massive credit here, Motorola too. Somebody had to go first. Somebody had to absorb the insane R&D cost, take the hits from angry customers, iterate publicly through all the problems, and Samsung did that. And at CES this year, Samsung demoed a display that was nearly crease-free. So the rumored approach involves a perforated metal backing that distributes folding stress across multiple points instead of concentrating them all in one line. And with rumors of Apple using Samsung for the displays, I'm wagering against the technology Apple's finally going to put in their foldable. But sort of my dead honest take after using every generation of Fold since 2019, I don't care about the crease. I'm always aware that it's there. So if Apple's been sort of waiting specifically to eliminate the crease, I don't know if that was ever a real barrier. Samsung did it first and owns a category, but still normal people aren't buying these things. And the crease is not why, I don't think. I think price is the big part of it. Durability concerns are probably the other, and sort of the like, this thing looks ridiculous factor part of it too. So back to the mockup. What do you actually learn kind of holding this thing? So inner display at 7.8 inches with a 4:3 aspect ratio is a very deliberate choice. Samsung's been pushing more of a square, sort of for the inner screen with each generation. Apple going by 4:3 suggests they're thinking kind of differently with it. It's wider, it's better for video, better for reading. The outer screen, I think that's interesting also. So Samsung made the Z Fold's outer screen 6.5 inches and 21:9. It's basically like a tall, narrow phone when closed. Apple appears to be going a different direction. The rumored 5.5-inch outer display is wider and shorter than almost square, kind of less like a phone, more like a passport. Samsung's approach means the Z Fold 7 works awesome as a regular phone when closed. Apple's approach means wider keyboard, more usable landscape mode, but a form factor that doesn't feel like any iPhone you've used before. Neither is wrong, they're just optimized for different things. On the outer display, I think Samsung wins for one-handed scrolling. 21:9 means like Instagram, X, text, all the apps designed for tall screens work naturally. Apple's wider screen might feel kind of cramped vertically, but should be dramatically better for actually kind of typing on. And a wider display means kind of wider keys, fewer typos. On the flip side, TikTok, Reels, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, all that sort of vertical video, I don't think it's gonna look great, for whatever that's worth when it's not unfolded. Black bars no matter what. And for hardcore multitasking, Samsung's square screen when open is definitely gonna have an edge. I think Apple is betting most people care more about media consumption than split screen productivity. And here's what might matter more than any hardware spec. So developers have been building iPad apps 2010. You've had 15 years of app optimization. Samsung's had 7 years to build a foldable app ecosystem, and most Android apps still just stretch to fill the screen. You open an app on the current Z Fold, half the time it looks like garbage because nobody optimized it. Apple is going to have more apps properly optimized for their foldable in the first month than Samsung has accumulated total. And that is not a dig at Samsung. That's just what happens when you have a developer ecosystem that Apple has. And when they ship a new form factor, developers show up. They did it for the iPad. They did it for the Apple Watch. They will do it for this. And that might be the actual reason Apple waited. Not just for the hardware to mature, but for certainty the software expectations would be ready from day one. Holding the mockup, something's definitely felt off. The power button sits high on the right-hand side, and with no Face ID, it's also going to house Touch ID, and I have pretty big hands. It felt weird to hold. And the volume buttons on the top of the phone also felt out of place. It makes sense when you have the display open, but just seemed weird. Maybe it's just some sort of discrepancies with the recurrent CADs. Price, not cheap. Rumored between $2,000 and $2,400. That's MacBook Pro money. But Samsung charges the same for the Fold 7, and people still buy those. So that's my thoughts on the Fold, but there are some things that I'm worried about. I'm worried about heat, and I'm worried about battery. Those are two things that have plagued first-gen Apple products and foldables in general. The Z Fold 7 gets me through a day with a 4,400 milliamp hour battery, but barely. Two displays fighting for power constantly. The iPhone Fold rumors suggest a bigger battery between 5,000 and 5,500 milliamps, which is pretty awesome. And if they nail thermal management and battery life, this thing could be incredible. If they don't, it'll be a beautiful device that dies by dinner. First-gen devices too are also a gamble. That's sort of the only thing that gives me pause here. So for my situation, I'm generally an iPhone guy. I have been for years. My life runs through iCloud, iMessage, but foldables keep pulling me back to Android. For a lot of people, me included, it's Apple's ecosystem that keeps bringing people back. And if we get a foldable that works with iMessage, that syncs with a Mac without a fight, that doesn't sort of make people feel like they're cheating on entire digital setup just because they want a bigger screen sometimes. That's awesome. I've wanted that for 7 years. I'm buying this day one. Not maybe, not depends on reviews, day one. I'm still keeping the Z Fold 7 just so I can compare and see how they did and how they stack up. Samsung deserves credit. They did it first. But again, nobody remembers who did it first. They remember who did it best. And that, I can't wait to actually see who does. I'll see you guys on launch day.